Hi, my name is Al Green. Not that one, but the struggling guy who was in the music industry for years trying to sell talent and songs to agents. The agents befriended me and taught me techniques that I want to pass on to you through my program, which is called You Can Talk, You Can Sell. Anyone who has ever taken this program has excelled in selling and either risen to the top of their company, their team, or the top of their field. It's called You Can Talk, You Can Sell, and you can get it right here. Are you aware of how you come across to any of your customers or even your co-workers? Is that something that you're aware of? You know, one of the biggest problems that has been brought to my attention is that some people will talk too fast. They talk as if they're trying to get their words out so fast that they think maybe they're going to run out of time. This is not a 30-second commercial when you're pitching to a customer. When you're making your presentation, it's something where you take your time. The average person will basically speak 150 to 200 words a minute. Now, believe it or not, when you're emphasizing a point, it's always best to slow down just a little bit and make sure you finish every word. You don't throw the word away, because you'll hear people, when they talk, they taper off their words as if they don't have to finish the rest of the pronunciation. This is called proper elocution, and that is used in a lesson I have called the Talking Guides, where I have seen many young people who are phenomenal in sales, but they talk so fast because of the fact that they probably speak a foreign language, and many people in foreign languages speak much more rapidly. But that's a different culture. If you're talking to people in any language, you have to speak clearly, as if you are an actor on stage or if you are a newscaster. Look at the news. Look at anybody speaking in a commercial and see, are they completing all of their sentences and their words? Are they using a word that has the finishing pronunciation of the word, which is called the diphthong, in a word like done? Are you done? Are you done? Could you come back? They don't try to localize their words to the dialect. They try to speak clearly so that everyone can understand every single word they're speaking. This is important if you're going to make it as a salesperson. And one of the biggest problems that I've run into is that the concept of speaking is something that many people forget. When you're speaking in any professional environment, when you're speaking to a jury in a courtroom, you're speaking clearly, otherwise if they can't understand you, and if you have an accent, this is a very common thing to have. Many, many times, I'll be asking people, could you please repeat that? Because I heard them speaking words, but I did not hear what they were saying. So the idea is to present not too slow and definitely not too fast. You've heard the old term about a fast-talking salesperson. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is we're keeping this very, very simple to make sure that when you speak, you are completely understood. And if you have a point you have to make. So for example, if you're talking about technology in a measurement, say that requires the term nano inches or micro inches, make sure that you complete every pronunciation of every syllable. slow down if you have to when you get to that part. Talk with the customer at their rate of speed. And if you notice that they're darting their eyes around, or they're starting to do things like click their ballpoint pen or looking at their watch, you're losing them. Watch the body language, because the way you talk is the way that people perceive you, period. If you're a fast-talking person and you speak as if you're trying to get the words out 100 miles an hour, you're going to miss some of the actual pronunciations of some of the words. And if you mispronounce some words that a lot of people do mispronounce, especially in names of places, there are some places in the world that are difficult to pronounce for some people. One of the problems is they don't pronounce it correctly because they don't know the local area. If you're working in an area, you've got to get to know that area. It doesn't matter if you're in any city, in any country, you are speaking to a person who knows that area. And if you mispronounce something, you're basically letting them know how much you didn't pay attention. Also, using improper language that might be great out on the street, but not in a professional environment. Because we're only dealing with professional consultants here, people who want to make at least 6 figures. They have to be on the professional level. So if I were to slow down and say the professional level, it might sound like I'm condescending to you as if you're a school child, but that's not what I'm doing here. I want to make the point that everybody has to talk in such a way that they can be understood with every syllable that they speak, just like a newscaster. Watch the news people. Watch the actors that are speaking dramatic roles in movies and see if they throw away their language. If they do, that might be the character. But when you're a newscaster, you are not supposed to be a character. It's difficult for the people that are out in the field and they're dealing with fires and wind and there's noise around them and people running around behind them. But they still speak clearly. Part of getting a job as a newscaster is being able to speak clearly and having the right type of tonality for the sentence that you're speaking. Politicians typically will speak clearly. It doesn't matter which side of politics that you listen to. The point is watch them talk, listen to them. Some of them are very, very eloquent and you understand every word they say. One of the things about Obama that people loved was the fact that he spoke very clearly. And many of the presidents and many of the congressmen or the mayors, when they talk, these are the politicians. They are communicators. They know how to reach the public because they're talking to a vast majority of people from different areas, different ethnic backgrounds, cultures, and local dialects that have their own lingo, their own lingo for the neighborhoods that they're in or the parts of the city that they're in. If you're in the South, you might speak differently than a person from northern New York or Canada. But when you talk, one of the things that's most important is that you communicate clearly, but watch talking too fast. You're not in a speed race to get your words out. If you think you're going to lose the customer by talking too fast, you might be losing them because you're talking too fast. So if you do have a tendency to talk fast, practice in front of a mirror, talk to somebody and explain something complicated and see if they get it. Break it down so they can understand it, but see if they get the words. There are some words that we all use that you'd be amazed how many times people mispronounce. Now, I understand if you're hearing impaired, that could be a problem with defining words in your head. I did know a gentleman years ago who was hearing impaired, but he did not speak as if he had a hearing disability at all. He spoke quite clearly, except for he didn't hear words correctly, and he must not have done a lot of reading because he was trying to tell somebody that because of his hearing loss, he was declared deaf. But he actually said the word death with a TH, death. He said, I can't hear very well. I'm partially deaf. Now, I hate to say this, but people were laughing at his malapropism. I believe that's what it's called. Spoonerism, when you're using the wrong words for the exact words that you mean to say. It happens all the time. And what's going on is many people do not pay attention to what they're doing. In essence, what you have to do is you have to be sure that you are paying attention to your own speaking. Speak at the rate of your customer and you should be just fine. If they talk a little bit slower, talk a little bit slower with them. But when you get to explaining something technical, slow down just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit, so that they hear every syllable that you pronounce. Because engineers, if you ever sell to engineers, they're very picky about words that people use. And you want to make sure that you can do that. If you've ever sold to engineers, you'll realize what I'm talking about. You've got to be able to use the correct terms in the right places. Otherwise, they'll stop you and question you, and that could kill the sale. So check yourself. And in the six-figure selling system, I'll be teaching more about the talking guides. Hope to see you there.